afternoon, good morning, good evening. Let me know where you're listening from so I can properly address you all. But welcome to another TAETRO Talks, Thursday evening or afternoon for me. Usually we do an interview show, and I will admit, folks, that it was my error and the reason that we had to switch things up this week and we were unable to do an interview. It was a scheduling conflict, but I am happy to say that the next 3 weeks we have some really awesome guests lined up. I don't know if I want to reveal them. Beat makers, live performers, Ableton folks that you will recognize, folks that you can look up on Beatport as well. 3 solid interviews lined up and some fingers crossed interviews in the future. But last week, since I was so irresponsible and today's interview kind of fell through, I decided that you also had so much fun last week with the call-in show, where if you don't know how this works, I drop the link in the chat, which I'm doing right now as we speak. I'm using a link this week, guys. Let me know if that also works. But I dropped this link in the chat. It's a Zoom link. So if you have Zoom, which is an app on your phone or on your computer or whatever, you can actually call in and ask questions, and we'll have a nice little chat. We'll go for about an hour today. And I am stoked to be, I just think it's fun. Like if an interview falls through or if we don't have a guest on a Thursday night, we can always just do this and check in and chat. Real quick before we get going, because I see people popping off in both chats. I have both chats in front of me. Just so you know, this stream is brought to you today by 343 Labs. 343 Labs is an electronic music school. We're in New York, we're in Berlin, and we are online. So no matter if you're not in those 2 cities, all of our classes are virtual now anyway, due to COVID-19, of course. But you get to learn with some of the best electronic music producers, instructors in the business. These folks are all like, they have been touring artists, they've been recording artists, engineers, mixing and mastering. They work directly with a lot of major brands and companies. And you can learn from them in a very intimate, small class settings, even though it can't be in person currently. The virtual online experience is just really great. There's a lot of people, we talked to Rashane last week, who really put a lot of time into just learning during this time. We're all stuck at home, so learning virtually is actually a great way to kind of level up your music production knowledge and kind of make gains during this time when we're all kind of stuck, even as things start to reopen, you know. But 343labs.com, if you get a chance during the stream and you're curious and you do want to learn from folks, check out the website 343labs.com. So you can just browse the course catalog, all kinds of courses. We'll talk more about that later. But I see lots of folks in the chat, and that makes me happy and excited. I'm monitoring both the chat on my channel, youtube.com/TAETRO, as well as the chat over at youtube.com/343labs. And if you're not subscribed, if you're on my channel and you're not subscribed to 343 Labs, just take a moment and go to 343 Labs on YouTube and hit subscribe. You can still stay watching on my channel if you want, but I am monitoring both chats. Chroma Beats, what's going on? Roller 8, hello, welcome. Chroma Beats says, I'm so happy since now I'm saving money to join one of 343's courses. That's super exciting, Chroma Beats. We would love to have you as a student. I'm curious, Chroma, which class are you most interested in taking? Bilal, what's going on? All right, let me jump over to my chat. Here we go. Basha is here. Basha was first today in the chat because Basha is dope. Mystery Kid Beat, what's going on? Gabu is here. Hello, Gabu. Carlos is here. Marco, Antonio, Nishark, Bueno, D. Marin, James Fox. James Fox has a logic question if anybody can help. I cannot help because I'm not a logic person. Nishark already said hi. Sky Silver, what's going on in Washington, D.C., East Coast? That's where I come from. Not D.C., but the East Coast. Hey, my dad is in the chat, folks. I think he beat my mom to being on the stream today. So watch out. He's coming for you. Daniel Ebrath, hello. Nice to see you. Gandalf is here. 1 a.m. in Germany. Thank you for staying up and hanging. Josiah, what's going on? What is up, bro? Oliver, Javier, what's up? Marco, Micah Taylor, what's going on? I think I'm caught up. TS Projects, what's going on? TS Projects, that's Thomas over in the 343 chat. Tyra, hey, what's up? Tyra, I don't normally see you in the live streams usually, but I see you in the comments all the time. Thanks for tuning in today. All right, stoked to get started. We actually already have a few people in the waiting room with the calls. But let me just review this one more time. Hello, Brian. Brian just jumped in the chat. Review some things real quick. So if you want to call in with some, creative questions about being motivated as a producer, about branding and marketing yourself, about controllerism. Try to call in with things that you know that I might be able to answer. Like, for instance, of course, there was a Logic question posed to anybody in the chat. And if you do use Logic, I'd implore you to answer James Fox's question. But if James Fox called in and asked me about Logic, I wouldn't really know the answer to the question. So keep that in mind when you call in with the questions. You don't have to be on video. Actually, you won't be on video. People will only hear your voice, so no worries on that. And do make sure you lower the stream volume when you call in. That way it doesn't bleed into the stream. It's an echo. It's a whole thing. And the stream is on a delay, so look out for that. But I will be talking to you in real time. If you have questions and you don't feel comfortable calling in, some of you are younger and you're not necessarily allowed to call in, feel free to type them in the chat because I will take questions in the chat just as much as I will take them from the calls. I have two Carloses in the waiting room for the calls, and it's funny, but a Carlos Osorio had called in first, and then I will take calls in the order in which I received them. So we'll go with Carlos, then we'll go with Luis, and then we'll go with Carlos Pineda. I am very stoked. So, shall we dive into calls? I'm excited. Let's do this. Oh God, I almost clicked the remove button. All right. Whew. That was a sketchy one. All right. Carlos O is joining, and I'm excited to hear Carlos's question. Thank you all for tuning in. It's a Thursday, evening or morning for some, and I'm stoked that we can all hang. Carlos, you're on the air, I think. Can you hear me, Carlos? Or it switched to Dan. Now it says Dan. I'm very confused. Dan, who just joined, is muted. Maybe Dan's name is also Carlos. Dan, can you hear me? Nope, muted again. We're going to go ahead and put Dan. It's so confusing. It said Carlos.
Hello?
Hello. How's it going? Is your name
Yes.
Dan or Carlos? Can you hear me? Oh. We're going to go ahead and put this person back into the waiting. Hello, can you hear me? Oh, seems like it's a problem with the connection.
Yes.
I'm going to move you back into the waiting room for now. And I'm going to take the real Carlos Pineda. You're in. You're on. Let's see how this works. Gotta love this bumpy start we're starting with. And usually by default, folks, it will mute you automatically when you join the Zoom. So just be aware that you might have to unmute yourself when you jump in for the first time. But Carlos Pineda, you're on the air. What's up, Carlos? How are you?
Hello.
Where are you calling in from?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me? Check 1, 2. Oh, maybe folks can't hear me. Maybe that's the issue.
Hello.
Hello, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, perfect. Whew. All right, you're the first caller, technical first caller. What's going on? Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from California.
From California. Same here, same here. How's it going? What's your question?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I just want to make sure we get your question in because there's a little bit of a connection issue, I think. But jump right in. Let me know.
Okay. My question was, is there a way that I could map my because I have a AKI
MPK?
how do I, Yeah, AKMPK Mini,
Yep.
and I wanted to know how to custom map it because every single time when I try to use it,
Hmm.
it doesn't get recognized by Ableton.
Right. So you're using Ableton Live. Have you set it as a control surface in your preferences?
Well, I tried that, but it doesn't show the mark. It only shows the first one. It doesn't show the mark two.
Got it. Got it. Make sure you update Ableton Live if possible. Um, and then also in the left hand side, it might say MPK Mini. It might say MPK Mini Mark II as a control surface. If it's not there, you do need to update Ableton Live. If not, actually setting it as like a MPK Mini Mark 1 might still work. I've cranked the volume, my friends. Sorry, Carlos, I'm just talking to the chat. I've pumped the volume, folks. Let me know if that is better on the call volume. But Carlos is asking about mapping his Akai MPK Mini, and I think a lot of you have questions about mapping controllers, and everybody skips this step. So first of all, make sure your DAW is updated. Then you want to go in Ableton Live, go to Live, Preferences, link in MIDI. And then there's 3 columns, control surface, input, and output. And in that column should be your controller. Actually, Carlos, in the control surfaces menu, there's only MPK Mini. There's no MPK Mini Mark II. But what you need to do is in control surface, you set it to the MPK Mini, and then in an input, select your MPK. When it's plugged in, it should say MPK Mark II. And select it as an input, select it as an output. Make sure track is turned on, and make sure remote is turned on, which will allow you to custom map it beyond just how it's automatically mapped. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. You got the whole family in the background, huh?
Yeah. Sorry.
Please tell your family I said hello. I hope everybody is staying safe. And I hope you're not going crazy stuck at home with the fam.
Yeah. I hope you're staying safe too.
Thank you. I hope you call in again soon. So if you still run into issues or you get confused, tweet at me or hit me up on Instagram and we'll see if we can solve the issue for you. But I think you should be off on the right foot if you follow those directions.
Okay.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Peace. All right. We did it. Oh, we have lots of folks in the queue for the call. We're going to try to get this Dan character back in here. Dan, you got one more chance. I'm calling on you. My mom has jumped in the chat. My dad beat her tonight, so my father was in the chat before my mother, which is crazy. Never happens, but that's fine. I guess my mom just has to step up her game, I guess. Dan, let's give this a second shot. And James Fox in chat, looks like Nassim Ali is answering your questions, so check the chat. Dan, can you hear me? Dan.
Hello?
Hello, Dan. How are you? Dan.
Hello?
Dan, I'm sorry. It sounds like you either have me muted or you can't hear
Hello?
me. Hello.
I think it's delayed.
Make sure you're listening on Zoom and not on YouTube, Dan.
Hello?
All right, Dan, we got to have you try to call in next.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Hello?
Hello. All right, Dan, you got to call in next time, my friend. It's not working out. Make sure you're listening on Zoom and not on the YouTube chat. We're going to bring in Luis next. Next call. Joseph McCaffrey in the chat. It's coming for Linda. What's up, Luis? Welcome. You're on the air.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Where are you calling in from, Luis?
I'm calling from Mexico.
Mexico. Greetings. How are
Yeah.
things? Are you staying safe?
Yeah, we're safe. Things are going well. How about you?
Good, good. Yeah, so far so good. I'm recently moved to California, and so things have been a little
Yeah, I saw that.
strange, but we're getting along just fine. What's your question today?
Yeah, well, I'm new in music production, a little.
You
I
came
have
to the
a
right
few
place.
months. Yeah. Well, I have like a few months, and I've been watching your videos, and you're great.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate
I
it.
became your Patreon, actually.
Amazing. Yes. If
Yeah.
everybody doesn't know, patreon.com/TAETRO. If you want to support the channel,
Yeah.
get some behind the scenes access, all that. Discord community. That's how you get in the Discord, all that. Yep.
Well, my question is how to find like my identity as a producer, because I'm from a background in rock music or indie
Yeah.
kind of stuff like that. And yeah, try to find an identity because I like a lot of electronic, like house and lo-fi, and how to combine those things.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you say like coming from an indie and a rock background, because that's really the background that I came from when I was
Yeah.
younger and like started making music. I was writing songs as a songwriter,
Yeah.
and then I was also playing in bands, like, and I was super into pop
Yeah,
punk music.
same.
And then I grew into, I wanted to produce my own songs, so I started using Ableton Live, which then got me into electronic music, all that stuff. So it is
Yeah,
tough.
same.
I'm sure you're grappling with like the rock music scene, indie music scene is a lot different than the electronic music scene and how
Yeah,
people
for
represent
sure.
themselves. But your strength is that you come from a different scene, which means you can kind of separate yourself in a way that, you take your influence from the old world, and obviously there's something you like about that, and what can you bring from that world to this new electronic world for you. And when it comes down to, talking about combining things, so you like house, you like lo-fi, all this stuff, what you really should do is be conscious about gathering all of your major points of inspiration. And
Okay.
in one of these streams, these call-in shows, I talked about doing like mood boards, like that helps me get visual inspiration.
Okay.
When I was designing the studio, I did like Pinterest boards of like how I wanted it to look, things like that. But for sound too, a playlist is a pin board. Like a playlist is a way for you to gather all that inspiration. And if you make a playlist of all the music that inspires you, regardless of genre, like I wouldn't say pigeonhole yourself in the genre. Of course, you want to make electronic music, but electronic music is a giant umbrella that a lot of things sit under.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
when you make that playlist, go through it and be super deliberate about, and don't go crazy. Don't make a 50 song playlist. Make like a 10 song playlist of the 10
Okay.
songs that super inspire you. But then like sit with a notebook or something, or just super consciously while you're listening through this playlist and just
Okay.
write down all of the things that you really like and would like to emulate from each of those tracks.
Okay.
Then as you're going through it and doing that, kind of circle the things that are common across all 10 tracks, because there might be things that are common across all 10, or 8 of the 10, 7 of the 10. And those are some things that, because you have to really start to realize your taste. You have to understand your own tendencies. Like, I didn't realize I liked this music because all these tracks have piano or something, or all these tracks have a certain kind of synth. Like, those are the things you need to discover and be deliberate about in your taste when you're trying to come up with your identity. So once you are super deliberate about that, you can firmly understand your taste and understand the direction you want to go to as an artist. And what that does is it essentially applies a limitation. And that sounds like super harsh and strict, but it says like, these are the things that I like. I can fit all the things that I like into this container that is me and my artist identity. And that is the sound that I'm going to go for. These are all the things I'm going to combine to make my own sound.
Well, thank you very much. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love
That's
to
a great
hear. I would
advice.
love to hear if it works. So keep me posted. Like, send me a message on Patreon or in Discord or whatever. Keep us posted on how it's going. If you do attempt to do that, and I would love to hear like how it goes. Especially if we do a call-in show in the future, which I'll actually be doing a call-in show on Monday. So if you do some of this stuff over the weekend and you're able to do the call-in show on Monday, call back in and let me know how it has been going.
Okay. Yeah.
in your
Maybe
approach.
I'm gonna call on Monday.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Thank you so much for
Perfect.
calling, Luis.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
You too.
Yes, folks, your artist's identity. I don't know. This just didn't click for me until maybe like a year ago. I was basically just going on instinct, right? Like, yes, I like this thing. Yes, I'll do these things. But I wasn't being super deliberate about it. I was being more... I don't know how to describe it. More just kind of going on instinct, which means things all kind of gel together. But when you start getting deliberate about it, that's when you can really start to make things happen. And that's when, for me, I saw a lot of growth. in my channel and, you know, in my following, because I was trying really hard to be deliberate about, okay, this is who TAETRO is as an artist, kind of looking at yourself from the outside in, you know, that kind of thing. TBH, thank you for joining. I'm happy to give any tips. Juanes Martinez, what's up? I'm doing well. How are you? Welcome to the chat. Lots of folks jumping in. Day and Night TV. All right, and we have some more folks in the calls waiting. Jordan is going to be up next. I see Jordan, Brandon, Gabu, Sky, and Carlos Osorio, which might be Dan. I don't know how this works. But Jordan, you're up next. Let's get you in the chat. TS Projects asks, what's the call-in number? There's a link up in the chat, but I'm going to paste it right now again for people. Jordan, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Where are you calling in from?
Florida, actually.
Florida. Nice. Are things maybe not nice. Are things going well in Florida?
Actually, not as bad as people think. It's still pretty sunny down here. It still rains randomly down here, and you know, everyone's still staying pretty safe.
Yeah. Good.
Like other states around here.
Very good. Cool. What's your question today?
So it's kind of like a 2-for-1. So for me, I feel like I'm at that stage where I'm kind of moving from beginner to intermediate, and I kind of wanted to know, you know, like with all kinds of like plugins that are out there and stuff, what are some plugins that you use in a sense?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think would be like a really good asset as a plugin, as well as maybe like what are certain plugins that are really good for the specific genre that you're in? So like a buddy of mine, he says you need to really get Serum, and one guy's like, you know, no, you need to get Nexus. And so like if there were like some plugins that would be really good to start with, like instrumental plugins to be exact.
Okay.
What do you think would be good for someone who is still a beginner moving into that intermediate field?
For sure. I'll give you some suggestions, but the advice that I would give to you and to anybody in the chat who's trying to make the same decision on like what plugins to get, especially instrument plugins, is you really want to seek out like any interview or any tutorials that your favorite artists have done and really sink your teeth and try to get that behind the scenes knowledge of what they're using, because that's what's going to make you, like, if you have artists that you love and listen to all the time and you can find an interview or a tutorial or anything where they're going behind the scenes and showing project files and showing what sounds they do, that is the quickest way to figure out what tools you actually want, because you're going to obviously be trying to, you know, collect inspiration from all your favorite artists and recreate some of the sound but put your own spin on it. So that's the easiest way to find like the very precise, like, oh, the artist that I love uses this plugin or whatever. I'm sure, you know, Deadmau5 and Serum, like, of course, everybody loves Deadmau5 when it got Serum as soon as Deadmau5 started talking about it, and you can get that sound, you know. But
Definitely.
For me, some of my favorites, this morning I did a stream using Farlight by Native Instruments.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and that's such a fun. I really love vocal synths and sampling vocals and all that. So for me and my sound, that fits perfectly. But that also brings up, we could talk about like plugin environments or plugin libraries, because you might want to start investing in a particular library too, like Native Instruments with Contact and with all their sound. They don't even call them sound packs, like sound libraries, I guess, because then when I think about Native Instruments, I think about the Lo-Fi Glow sound pack, which I use a lot of the sounds of, Kinetic Toys, which is a lot of really unique sounds. So like when you're in that, how would I say it? When you're in that kind of environment, the Native Instruments environment, it makes things a lot easier because you're collecting all these different really cool sounds, but they're all kind of in one package. They all kind of work the same. They have similar interfaces or can be controlled by similar controllers. So that's what I would say. I do love a lot of the Native Instruments sounds. Farlight, which I did today. Lo-Fi Glow is another pack that I love. Also, can't sleep on Arturia Pigments. That's one of my favorite sounding plugins. Thomas in the chat just threw out Arturia V Collection. Yes, that's another complete example of that, because in the V Collection you have really great sounds, a lot of vintage modeled stuff. Like there's a lot of there's endless possibilities in that collection. There's so much, and that speaks to, again, getting in the different environments. V Collection being very similar to, Native Instruments Complete Control, that bundle and stuff. Arturia's kind of equivalent package is the V Collection. And so I would say, think about your favorite artists, figure out what sounds they're using, and then figure out if there's a particular environment that's calling you, a particular company's sound library that's calling to you, because you can grow a single library. Like with Arturia, you don't have to get the full V Collection off the bat. Get a couple plugins, like maybe you get Pigments, and then maybe you dive deeper into the Arturia stuff, or maybe you like Lo-Fi Glow by Native Instruments, and then you start building up your Native Instruments library. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have, access to all of these, and so I get my pick of the litter, but yeah, my favorite sounds right now, Lo-Fi Glow, Native Instruments, Pigments by Arturia, and then also the Farlight, which I tried out today for like the second time.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. I definitely will have to look into some of my favorite artists and see what they use.
Totally.
I just didn't want to get in a weird situation where I'm starting investing in all these plugins and then I just get lost in a sea.
It's so easy to do that. Yeah, and then you just you're buying stuff and then you're spending money, and then how long does it sit there? So like investing,
Exactly.
that's why I say like investing in a single library is not a bad idea, because at least you're not all over the place. You are in the container of like that particular brand's library, It limits you somewhat, even though there's tons of options.
Awesome, definitely. Thanks, man.
Thanks you so much for calling in. Have a good one.
You too.
Chat, let me know before I take this next call. Why don't you all type in your favorite plugin that you're using right now? I'd love to read them out, see what everybody's using. How about either a favorite plugin you're using right now, or a plugin that you really wish you had? Drop that in the chat. Lino Light says, in your videos, I'm going to get back to the calls in a minute, but I'll take some questions from chat. So in the 343 chat, Lino asks, in your videos and live performances, you use different beat repeat effects, and they're very cool. Thank you. Which ones do you normally use? Thanks. Thank you for the kind words about the beat repeat. I just use the stock Ableton beat repeat, and what I do is I have about 8 of them in a single audio rack, and they each are a different subdivision of time. So some are quarter notes, some are eighth notes, some are sixteenths, like a different rate every single time. So I map them to the macro knobs, and every time I turn one of the macro knobs, it turns one of those rates on. So I have a knob for quarter notes, knob for eighth notes, sixteenths, etc. Triplets in between. So that's what I usually know. Ben Ford is co-signing on the Native Instruments Lo-Fi Glow, and also says the Magnetic Coast expansion. Yeah, that's great for machine users especially. Bilal says, I like Waves as well. Yes, I bought the Waves Gold bundle a long time ago, and it was a very good investment. But it is that, like, you get tons of plugins. But from a mixing perspective, that gives me a lot of tools, for sure. Diego says, Little Altar Boy. I don't know that plugin. I'll have to check it out. Sounds like it's for vocals. Oh, yeah. Really fun for vocals. Elijah Brittingham says, I've been using the Drip plugin. Has a nice lo-fi setting. Good to know. Good to know. Juanes Martinez says, I really like Operator. Nice. Operator, that stock Ableton synth. I have Serum, but I don't really feel comfortable with it. Yeah, Serum can be a bit of a monster, too. All right, cool. Spitfire Audio's BBC Symphony Orchestra. Yeah, those are some really good orchestral samples. Stay in Focus Media says Outputs Arcade is great for unique loops. Nice, nice, nice. Chroma Beat says, why do you have so many MIDI controllers? Do you use all of them? I have a lot of MIDI controllers because I kind of built this channel off doing MIDI controller reviews, and then all the companies said, oh, we'll send you these new MIDI controllers, and I'll have more than you can see in this picture. So I'm very fortunate. I love controllerism as a thing. Like I love, using different controllers, even though there's some redundancy and a lot of it can be repetitive. I love approaching music in different ways. The tool that you use can actually influence how you create music, and I'm fascinated by that. Even if it's as simple as like, which 25 key keyboard, well, they all have their own nuances. So that's why. Name my top 5, not going to do that right now. That would take too long. I have plenty of videos about my favorite controllers. I see Brandon, Sky, Jose Luis, Jean, Gabu, Thomas in the waiting room. I'm taking them in that order that I just said. Brandon, taking your call. Let's do this. Mike Dillon says, thinking I might need Waves Ovox. Mike, Waves Ovox is dope. I have it. I bought it. And it's just great. It's so much fun. Brandon has a cool avatar on Zoom. That's what I like to see. A little anime character. Potentially some type of raccoon bandit animal.
Hi.
Hi, Brandon. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good to hear from you. Where are you calling in from?
I'm from Mexico.
From Mexico. We've had a lot of
Yes.
callers from Mexico today. It's interesting.
Yeah, I saw that.
What's going on? What's your question today?
Well, little background. I'm a beginner.
Mm-hmm.
I started being interested in making music like September last year. And from now on, I've been learning a lot of stuff on
Nice.
the internet. But I keep struggling getting melodies. I like using samples, but I also would like to make my own melodies, but I really struggle doing that. So I don't know, maybe an advice on
Yeah.
how to come up with melodies or something.
Yeah, take some. I'm sure we talked about this last call-in show too, but the struggle with beginners trying to learn music production and making their own music is that you try to learn the technology side and then you try to learn the music side all at the same time. And they're both very deep topics. And you kind of have to get good at all of them to make something that sounds good. So I think it sounds to me like you've put a lot of time into the technology part, like using the DAW and using all that. And it sounds like it's time for you to take some time and learn some music theory, which kind of sounds boring. But the reason go ahead. Oh yeah, because you're struggling with melodies, and what's behind every good melody is understanding what key you're in, understanding phrasing, understanding the chords that you're playing over, and what notes work over that chord, and what notes don't work over that chord, and that's all music theory related. And if you wanted to just dip a toe into those waters, without it being like too boring, I would find a couple songs that you really, really like and learn to play the melody to those songs, not even the chords, just the melody, the top line, the singer or whatever. Play the melody on the keyboard or learn to, and you will start to feel the ergonomics of playing melody. You will start to feel the shape of the phrases, the call and response aspects. And you will start to notice patterns if you learn enough melodies from songs that you like. Now, that's kind of like a back-end way of getting into music theory. Then I would just do some deeper digging on the internet and tutorials and look into a little bit more music theory stuff so that you can get some of the technical knowledge, because that will much better help you understand in a firm way how to make melodies that sound a bit better. But it comes down to like phrasing, not being too complicated. If you can hear, you want to be able to hear an idea in your head and play it. That obviously comes with time. You want to imagine, a singer or an instrumentalist playing this melody. Is it catchy? Does it get stuck in your head? When to stop? Again, that goes into not making it too complicated. Call and response. So you set up one line and then another line answers it, another melodic line. Motion, direction, like these are all things. Like I had the benefit of going and studying music in college, and like even though learning some classical stuff was very underwhelming and very like disappointing, you do learn a little bit about just rules of melody, like very, very rudimentary rules of melody. And that information is out there. Like people have been doing that since, well before we were making electronic music, is in deciding what a good melody is. So the information is definitely out there. It might not be in the context of electronic music, though a lot of it is, especially if you go to Theory Thursdays with Max Wild every Thursday at 1 p.m. EST on 343 TV. He teaches a lot about music theory every Thursday. We also, and then we have class on music theory, obviously. But yeah, my advice to you is start diving a little deeper into music theory. The easiest, most accessible way to do that for you and learn about melody is to learn some of your favorite melodies, play them on the keyboard, learn enough of them so you start to notice patterns and you can start to recreate, certain styles on your own with your own musical ideas.
Well, that's a really good advice. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in, Brandon.
Yeah, and I will be on the university studying music production, but this COVID-19 thing happened, so I'm stuck at home.
Are you doing online classes?
No, because my first class will be like in August, but it's been delaying since like May, and I don't know when I will start.
I see. Well, if whatever happens, if you really want to get that degree, if you really want to go the higher ed route, and stick with it and get with the delays, that's cool. But if you want to just go to 343labs.com and take a look at the classes, because we're not delaying, so we're still delivering courses. And the thing is, like, our teachers have been doing it for a while. Like for a lot of universities and colleges, this is new to them and it's going to be a subpar experience. And I can guarantee you courses at 343 Labs, there's value in them. So they're priced accordingly, but they're a lot cheaper. Like you will learn so much more than going to a 4-year program and spending much, much more at like a university. But just something to check out, 343labs.com. If you get anxious or you want to take a class in between when your actual university starts, you'll be one step ahead of the game. Something to think about.
Yeah. I'll definitely check it out. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks so much for calling in. Have a good one.
Bye.
Chat, I love doing call-in shows. That's what I think. I'm trying to keep up with text chat, but I'm sorry if I'm doing a bad job. Jay Murphy says, how TF do I finish stuff? I make the 4-bar loop and then I just dip. You got to go into arrangement view, man. You got to start putting stuff on the timeline. Go to my channel right now, and I have a literal video that I put out this week. 5 tips to finish and release more music. You got to watch that. JFK asks, and I'll get back to the calls in a moment. Hey, TAETRO, you ever had any issues with your current computer rig? I've got a PC with a Core i7, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and an SSD, and the DAWs always crap out. Windows machines, PC machines are just not built like Macs. That's what I'll say. So even though you have an i7, it's probably not as great as an i7 in a Mac. Your 32 gigabytes of RAM is not really doing much for you, especially if you're using Live, because I believe Live only utilizes 4 gigabytes of RAM. Unless you tell it to load samples into the RAM, which you have to manually do, which I doubt anybody does. And it comes down to the processor and the fact that it's in a PC, unfortunately. My laptop specifically is a 2018 MacBook Pro with an i7 with 16 gigabytes of RAM. And it runs a lot of things flawlessly. It runs things well enough so that I could run Farlight today during the stream. But while streaming, because streaming is super CPU intense and that plugin is super CPU intense, and I was able to do it. So this computer is a workhorse. It heats up quite a bit, but I edit 4K video on it, all that. It's just stuff that Windows machines can't handle. I saw another question. Mr. Blissfulness. I think somebody answered your question. Maybe not. Set up 3 devices for 3 different people to be able to play and record live. Yeah, so in Ableton Live, you can set different MIDI inputs on each track. So you can arm the 3 different tracks. Let's say you have bass, keyboard, and drums. You say bass, you're going to get signal from the launch key. Drums, you're going to get signal from the launch pad. And Launch Control XL, you're going to do, the mixing and stuff. You can set on the tracks, if you look at the little I/O menu, the in-out menu, you can say MIDI in from and pick a specific controller. And then it will not send MIDI to all the tracks. Those controllers will only send MIDI to those tracks as long as they each have particular inputs set up. Let's grab Sky's call real quick. This hour is flying by, folks. So I think everybody who has called in. What's up, Sky? Make sure you unmute your mic. I'm going to push this button. It says ask to unmute. There we go. What's up, Sky? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's really great because I've seen your name like in the chat and in comments before, and it's really great to, actually be able to chat with people. Like, where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from, right now I'm in College Park. I'm University of Maryland student, so.
Nice.
So my question was, you mentioned in a recent video that when you're writing a track, you usually start by writing loops.
Yeah.
And then you move on to the arrangement view.
Totally.
So I was just wondering, would you recommend that, or would you say it differs from producer to producer?
It works for me. I just love doing that because I think it's a really easy workflow. I see a lot of folks that don't do it though. Like I see a lot of really amazing producers that literally just start in the arrangement view. I think they're crazy, but
that's what I've been doing. So,
but no, and that's totally fine. I've seen like the process literally doesn't matter. Like how you do what you do doesn't matter as long as you do. Like as long as you get stuff done, as long as you're making music, like there's no right or wrong way. I don't think you're limited by that way. You're actually probably better off because you have no option to get stuck in just looping clips because you're already on the timeline. So it's actually serving you pretty well. What a lot of people do to have the same workflow experience that I have when I work in session view and loop and then move everything over is they just use those brackets and they'll loop the first 4 bars or they'll loop the first 8 bars and they'll work in 8 bars but in arrangement view and it's still looping. And that works for people. I think that's totally fine that you do that. What kind of music do you make? I'm
kind of working in electronic right now. I'm toying around with a lot of different things. But I'm kind of new to this. Yeah. So.
Well, it sounds like you're off on the right foot. Don't get too caught up about the process. Like, just because you see other producers, like you see me working in session view, you can try it if it works for you. If not, you like working in arrangement view, there's like no wrong way. As long as you're making music and you don't feel held back, you cannot go wrong. I wonder what kind. I already asked that. Are you studying music?
No, unfortunately, I'm not because my parents did want me to have quote a real major. So
a real major. I like that. So what are you studying?
Sociology.
Don't let it get you down because, I studied music in college 4 years and learned 99.9% of what I learned after moving on from college or just outside of college while I was in college, but not actually in learning in the classes, outside learning. Everything I learned about Ableton, everything I learned about music production did not come from my 4 years studying music. So take your, I think you see it probably as a little bit of a disadvantage having to have a quote unquote a real major, but take it as a slight advantage of like you get to go study sociology now and what type of inspiration, what can you bring from that, from learning all about that world into your music, in your work, in your art. Like try to see it as much as an advantage as possible and know that you're not stuck in a music program where you have to learn some classical or jazz pieces that you don't really care about. Anytime you spend making music or working with music is going to be spent doing it how you want to do it. So try to see the light in that.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in, Sky.
Of course.
Good call. Joseph McCaffrey put a very funny quote. For those of you who don't know, Joseph McCaffrey is my best friend and roommate. He put a quote that somebody said to me when I used to work as a dishwasher in a kitchen. Quote was, I was going to study music, but I decided to study psychology so I could do something with my life. It's just like, you're always going to run into folks. Like I'm in a position where I was very fortunate that I had parents that embraced whatever I wanted to do. If I showed I wanted to do something or work hard at something, they embraced it. They didn't, think twice when I wanted to go study music and be a music major in college. And I'm fortunate to have that position, but just know, regardless of who's telling you you can or you can't do something, it's ultimately up to you. So regardless of if you have that support community of folks saying, yes, go do music, or no, don't go do music, go do something real, you can make something happen for yourself. When you're young, it's hard because there's financial restrictions that are usually tied to parents, but you have 24 hours in your day, and unless your parents are scheduling each one of those 24 hours for you, you can take whatever hours you have left over and do what you really want and work hard and make it really happen. And it sucks that you might have to prove people wrong, but lots of people had to go through that. And you can too. Basha says, hey, I'm back now. How's it going? It's going well. How dare you leave in the middle of the stream? Just kidding. TAETRO says, do you find yourself more in session or arrangement view in Ableton? It's 50-50, 60-40. 60 in session view because it takes me the longest time to come up with ideas and start plotting stuff out. Arrangement view, start plotting things out on the timeline. My philosophy behind that is in the latest video that went up Monday about finishing and releasing music. Okay. Yes, you're all asking great questions today. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. We have about 10-ish minutes left, and I have 4 calls to get to. So hang tight, folks. I'm going to answer those calls. I just want to mention one more time that we're brought to you today by 343 Labs, which is an electronic music production school. We've got classes in New York, Berlin, but virtually. That's the most important part. So a lot of you folks are calling in from Mexico, Maryland, where Sky just called in from. No matter where you call it in from, you can take an online course with 343 Labs. And we have expert instructors who have been in the industry for a long time. We have beatport charting producers. We have Ableton Certified Trainers, touring musicians, people who have played really huge clubs. Classes in Ableton for every experience level, beginner, intermediate, advanced. Logic, same thing, beginner, intermediate, advanced. Mixing and mastering, songwriting and music theory. It just seems like so many folks need the music theory part. So the songwriting and music theory course could be of interest, as well as vocal production. So 343labs.com. We have summer immersives starting soon. We have one happening right now. You can even shadow a class if you want. Classes that are in session. If you're interested but not ready to click buy now or add to cart, go to the website 343labs.com and sign up to shadow a class or audit a class, we call it. And you can sit in on one class and see how you like the learning experience. You might as well take advantage of auditing the class because you might learn something in the class. You might say, hey, I'll take a course. So 343labs.com if you can. I would appreciate it. Axe, thank you for tuning in. See you later. Thank you. Juan for real says we want to see a studio tour. Yes, I can't really do it right now, but I'm going to make a studio tour video very soon. Let's get on with the calls. Gabu. Let's get him in. Carlos Moneda is back in the chat. How many beat ideas daily do you drop or trash? I rarely do that, GCD, actually. Gabu, hello. How are you?
Hi, Nick. How are you?
I'm good. How are things going? I know you were playing guitar a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Are you taking lessons again, or are you just playing on your own? You're teaching yourself with some YouTube stuff?
Actually, I had a background, like a little background. I used to play from 8th. I had some issues. I stopped it. Then again, something like that. So right now I'm planning to buy a new guitar. So it's coming maybe on Monday. So I'm trying to learn new stuff and all.
Nice. Very cool. You got a question this week, or are you just calling in the chat?
Yeah, no. Actually, I had a question. So I was trying to use a DAW for my MIDI keyboard. So I started with FL Studio initially. So I had some problems. It showed me some issues in my laptop.
Yep.
So then I switched it to Ableton Live Lite. Like I was using all the free versions because I was not able to afford for them.
For sure.
So then the Ableton Live was kind of very, it's kind of disturbing. I didn't understand many things in that. It was like
It's a little
I didn't
complicated.
understand many things. Yeah, it was a bit complicated for me. So I thought if there were any free DAWs which were little, easy to access and all.
It's tough because right now the point that you're at is you want to make music, but you don't have the knowledge of the programs, and you want to make electronic music specifically. So the only thing I could recommend for beginners is that you start working with some apps, because apps are very like mobile apps, and iPhone and iOS has the best selection, I would say, because apps have like very contained purposes, whereas like DAWs are huge and they have lots of things you can do in them, which in a way makes them very complicated. One thing I also will say is that Bitwig, which is another DAW, it's not free, but it's definitely cheaper than Ableton, and there's a free trial. So you can use the free trial of Bitwig and just try it out. But what I thought was really awesome too is Bitwig has this feature built in that is essentially like a built-in manual or a built-in tutorial that pretty much for any aspect of the DAW, you can click a little help button and it will break down the parts of the DAW particularly for you, so you can read about it and learn it. But I will say, I know a lot of folks are looking for like an easier way. But if you're really serious about learning music and music production, it's not going to do you any good to just use something that's easier right now in the moment. You're much better off just putting the time in and learning the very, very basics. Don't go ahead of yourself, because you're not going to make a multi-platinum record as soon as you open a DAW. You might have to make some crap first. You make a lot of crap first. We all do. You'll learn the DAW though. You'll learn it. You'll learn it from a beginner level, and eventually your skills, whether you have musical skills that are here and your DAW skills are here, those will eventually, cross paths. You might want to improve your musical skills, and then your DAW skills surpass them, and then you improve your musical skills. You continue on that process. So it's two suggestions. I said Bitwig because they have a really good built-in tutorial system and they have a free trial. That said, it's not going to get easier. So if you are serious about creating music and being a music producer, making music, take the time and look up some straight up beginner tutorials from zero. Don't try to jump ahead and learn the hard stuff first, or else you're just going to get discouraged. There really is no shortcut you can take unless you're going to download, GarageBand is the most accessible that you can use on an iPhone, an iPad, on a Mac, whatever, but not everybody has Mac. So those are my suggestions, Gabu. There's no easy way about it. There's kind of easier options, but eventually you will have to put in some work and learn something, It's just like learning the guitar. Guitar is hard at first. Yeah. It hurts your hands. You don't even want to pick it up. Do you get like a kid's guitar so that it doesn't hurt your hands as much, but then it's not going to sound as good once you learn to play guitar, like that's the same. No, you build up the strength build up the strength in your fingers. That way, like, you don't have to worry about it down the road, and you already have a decent guitar that you can play on. And you don't buy a cheaper guitar to start, or else you're going to get discouraged about the sound and the playing.
Mm-hmm. That's actually correct. I was even thinking of another question.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I asked you one question regarding the music production stuff in Discord. Like about we had a controversial topic saying that whether AI will take up.
Oh, yeah. Artificial intelligence.
Yeah. So I was thinking, if it was real, what will be happening to music producers who are doing, like, the people who are beginning right now, at a point of time where AI will start taking up things?
it's a really interesting point. So what Gabu is talking about, folks at home, is artificial intelligence, right? So right now, I've seen this in action. We have not only artificial intelligence that can create sounds, so it can recreate like a piano sound or recreate an already written piece, but now we have AI that can not only recreate sounds, but it can create original music. And I've heard this already. I've heard an upright piano recording that sounds like an upright piano that was just recorded in a room that sounds completely natural, playing a piece that I thought already existed. But not only did the AI create the upright piano sound based on information it had, but it also created an original piece. And I don't know if this is true. I don't want to spread misinformation, but when you think about the whole lo-fi hip hop scene, there's folks speculating that there's a fair amount of, lo-fi hip hop artists on these radio stations and on these channels that don't actually exist and are just created by AI. And the AI is so smart, it can very easily create lo-fi hip hop. It's not out of this world to think that could be true. And I'm pretty sure it is true. I don't know if they're getting millions and millions of plays, but now imagine you're a company. You just buy this technology, you make a lo-fi hip hop playlist that's not created by anybody, it's created by your computer, and you get millions of plays because everybody loves a lo-fi hip hop playlist, and boom. So the problem that Gabu is talking about is now what does that mean for the actual music producers? And my only theory, and if you've seen Blade Runner, if anybody's seen Blade Runner, this is how this plays out. They get robots that look just like humans, that act just like humans, all that. But what becomes very valuable is like proof of humanity. So in the movie Blade Runner, humans get real animals like pets. And because and this is going to make sense for music in a minute, I promise. But they get real animals and they get pets. And the reason for that is because if you're a human and you have an animal and you can care for it, that's like showing your human element, and pets become like at a premium. Like real animals become very, very expensive because of this. They become a hot commodity. So what I think is as AI develops and grows, there will be the crowd that can't tell the difference between AI music and actual produced music. But then there will be a crowd that actually demands music made by humans and wants to go to concerts with music performed by humans. And that could actually, just like the pets in Blade Runner, become a premium. If, AI music becomes commoditized, then people will start demanding actual humans more, and it actually might raise the value of music actually created by humans. It also might change genres. It might change how what our expectations are. What can a human do that a machine can't? And those lines might start to get blurry, but there will always be some type of separation. So that's kind of my thoughts on it, Gabu.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for calling in, man. I'm going to be back with Mentor Monday on Monday. So if you want to call in then again, get a question ready.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Peace out.
Stay safe.
You too. Carlos Bennett asks, does anybody know if TAETRO has a Discord server? I do, and you can get access to that Discord server by going to patreon.com/TAETRO and signing up for as little as $1. So you support the channel, and you get access to the Discord server. That's how it works. We got 3 more calls. The lines are closed, my friends. The lines are closed. But I thank you all for calling in. 3 more calls we're going to take. Thomas is in the chat.
What's going on, everybody?
Guys, it's Thomas of 343 Labs. Can I get some clapping emojis in chat, please? How are you doing, Thomas?
I'm doing well, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It was unexpected to do a call-in show today, but I think the people enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked the last part of that last question you guys were talking about. I don't know how delayed we are compared to the actual stream, but the AI talk had me pretty interested.
It's interesting. You should look some of that stuff up. I went to an event in New York with all these fancy tech companies, and this one dude was a CEO or whatever of this AI company, and he played me this recording, and he was like, the robot made the sound and the piece of music. So you're getting some emojis in chat, Thomas, just so you know.
Amazing.
I'm sure you're
love to see that.
Chroma Beats is going wild for Thomas in chat. That's what I know.
Shout out to Chroma Beats.
What's good, Thomas? You got a question today?
I had something earlier, but I kind of got a little sidetracked, just tuning, listening so closely to the recent questions. But I did want to mention something along the lines. We were talking about plugins and stuff earlier.
Yes.
And something that I thought might be useful, and you were kind of touching upon this when you were talking about Bitwig too.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these companies let you do free trials,
Yes.
Not everyone does, but another thing that's really cool I've been getting into recently, which can be dangerous, so watch out, but rent to own on Splice.
Yes.
You can do like the subscription, so for like $10. And there's also like a 3-day free trial for a lot of those subscriptions. Yep. But for like $10 a month, you can get like so many different plugins. And, if you can't afford it all up front, it's a great kind of financing option.
Yeah.
You don't end up paying any more, actually, just the price of the plugin spread over however many months it takes to pay it off.
Yeah, folks, and if there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're financially responsible and you can financially trust yourself. I started by paying for things over time and paying for things monthly and rent to own. So that's how I bought my first Mac. That's how I'm paying for Serum right now. So I'm buying Serum through Splice for $10 a month instead of dropping a ton of money. I already pay for Splice, but then additionally, I wanted to try Serum. So I did a 3-day trial. I liked it. And then it just is going to start charging me $10 a month, which means eventually at the end of however long it is, once I pay off Serum, it'll be paid off. And then but I have Serum in the meantime. So I didn't just drop a ton of money. I could have, but I didn't. But I still have access to Serum. I can start making music now. And the free trials, don't sleep on the free trials, because I heard a rumor that Ableton's free trial got extended to 180 days. I don't know if that's confirmed.
Yeah, I think it was like if you had it already.
Oh.
Days, it automatically got extended. I don't know if you sign up now how long it is, but either way, amazing job.
Yeah, regardless, Ableton started with a 90-day trial. It started with a 30-day trial. They upped it to 90, and then I think some folks have access to 180 days. So don't sleep on the free trials. It's a good way to test if you're actually going to use something, because if at the end of 30 days, if you're not using something too much or you don't feel like using it too much, it's probably not a good investment.
Yep, exactly. So I did think of one question for you.
Let's do it.
It's a bit of a more, I guess maybe a little philosophical, but so as you know, I'm not necessarily a beginner producer, but I'm nowhere, we work alongside a lot of really talented producers who are super advanced. So I wouldn't put myself in that category either. But when it comes to content creation and that whole side of things, which I think is increasingly more important for musicians, producers, artists these days, I consider myself very much, in the beginner realm. So I'm curious, along your journey with music and content, how did you kind of decide, when to focus on what? And I know that, your content plays into a big part of your music following, but did you consciously decide, hey, I'm going to do content? This is a conversation me and TAETRO have a lot, working alongside him, but I'm curious, did it kind of decide itself that you were going to kind of take a heavy focus on the content? And, obviously you're still doing music throughout that whole process, but how does that kind of weave into each other?
Yeah. So when we would not be having this conversation, I would not be with the channel and audience that I have today if I did not start making, video content, specifically video content, and building up an audience and building up a community around me as an artist, and then also providing educational value. This following would not exist. It's so much more of a lottery and a gamble to say, I'm just going to make music and I'm just going to put music out and hopefully somebody finds it, or hopefully I get signed, which is like a pie in the sky idea in 2020. Of course, people do it. People get discovered. People get signed. People go touring and stuff. But for me, I saw this pathway that, well, first of all, I liked teaching anyway. So I liked sharing knowledge. And I liked making electronic music, and I wanted to fuse those two things. So I took my Galaxy Note 4 and I shot a video, 3 tips for the Launch Key Mini. This is on the Launch Key Mini Mark 1. And from there on, I wasn't just posting live sessions. I was posting, my opinion, my thoughts, my ideas, sharing and educating people. And that is when the audience started to grow. And that's why I now have the audience that I have. So what that looks like for other folks, I don't know. But I know that if you're an artist or you're a creator, you make something, regardless of if it's music or visual art or whatever, you have learned things along the way in your journey that could be of value to everybody else who's on their own journey. And there's a million different people that do tutorials out there. And it's easy to say, like, what's the point in me telling people how to do this? There's already a video for it. Like, there's a million different videos of what MIDI controller to buy, but somehow people come and watch my videos about what MIDI controller to buy, you know? And people watch the other ones too. Sometimes it's about just you saying things the way you say them appeals to a certain segment of an audience better than another person. Because we're all human, we all relate to different people in different ways, and you could just have that way of relating to people that some people like, that maybe people who watch your channel wouldn't watch my channel, vice versa, or maybe there's crossover, who knows. But it's always worth sharing your knowledge, and I think we got to get more in the tradition of folks just being more open to also teaching. I went to school with a lot of music majors that just refuse and looked down upon teaching and helping educate other people, when music is a tradition. Like, music is a tradition that used to be just passed down generation to generation, and not actually, you know, artists over here, teachers over here. I like to think of myself as in the dead center, because you have a lot of teachers that can't make great music, and you'll have a lot of musicians that can't really teach that well. And if you can fit somewhere in that dead center and just learn to share and communicate your ideas, it makes the world a better place, because you're sharing your knowledge with people, and artists can get better. We can have more great artists and more people learning and more people with knowledge out there. And like, it just feels good sharing your stuff. And then from your artist point of view, people are way more likely to go listen to my music after they watched a thing, after I just helped them choose a piece of gear or showed them how to make a certain piece of music, than they were if I was just, you know, SoundCloud producer XYZ. You know, there's a big difference. It's like people get to know you. That's why content matters.
Definitely. And I think that going back to what you're saying about sharing, you know, your ideas and what you've learned is like, especially in today's day and age with all the technology, I think that kind of harboring your ideas and harboring your tricks and stuff is kind of all out the window, because, you know, you get everybody doing these live streams, Kenny Beats, all these people
Totally.
essentially giving away, you know, all their gems for free.
Absolutely.
Which I think is creating a really cool time in music where everybody's kind of working with a lot of the same tools and a lot of the same knowledge is out there, and it's really on you to go out there and execute, versus, you know, 10, 15 years ago, there was so many more barriers, as you know, to kind of get yourself up and running.
And there are no secret recipes. As much as people, that's a very beginner like mindset that people have, is they think, oh, if I share how to do this, then somebody else is going to do it, and then my thing won't be so cool anymore. Well, guess what, folks? I make really cool hologram videos on Instagram. Some of you might see them. And you know what I did? I made a tutorial on how to make your own hologram videos. And you know what I don't see very much of out there on Instagram? People making hologram videos. I see a few here and there, but it's not like those people's audience exploded after they started making hologram videos and then my audience went away. A, your audience isn't going to go away because somebody else starts doing the same or similar thing. And B, sure, other people went and made their own hologram videos based on my tutorials, but did they have an audience that had this connection with them because they helped them pick a piece of gear or learn how to make a piece of music? No. So it doesn't happen like that. There are no secret recipes. You're totally right, Thomas. Like, people on videos and live streams all day sharing secret sauce, quote unquote secret sauce, like how to do stuff, very like professional level advice and knowledge being dropped daily, but people don't take it. That's the difference. So if you want to really like grow, be the person that takes the advice and learns from those things and applies what you've learned. Because like you said, lots of people going out there and giving out free advice, and not lots of people, a minority of those people are taking the advice. So that is how you succeed, is by being in that minority of people that actually take the advice and apply the knowledge.
100%. And to kind of spring off of that, the live streaming and all that, don't forget to check out 343 TV.
That's right. 343 TV. Every day we are streaming live. New show tomorrow, Thomas. And you know what I realized? I didn't change my end screen before I went live.
Oh, that's all right. We can, give you guys the details in the chat, maybe, or should we do it here?
Yeah. Why don't you start typing in the chat, and I'm gonna get ready to take the next call, and I'll quickly explain it.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you for calling in, Thomas.
Thanks, man. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Yeah, guys, new show tomorrow at 1 p.m. EST with Abe Duque. Abe was doing a Bitwig show, but we're switching things up. He was doing Bitwig Basics. We're going to keep on with the Basics branding, but actually his show tomorrow is going to be starting a new series, 4 sessions. The next 4 sessions are going to be hardware basics. And Abe is going to be giving us a look at the 808 tomorrow, as far as I know. Thomas will type some more info in the chat, which I think will be fun. I'm stoked that people are still hanging in the chat. Josiah, I see that you had to leave. Thank you so much for hanging out. Gabriel, glad you could make it. Don't worry, this stream will be available later for you to watch. Thanks everybody for hanging. We have 2 more calls. Let's go ahead and try. This says Carlos. Is this Carlos from before? Is this F in the chat? Hello. Connecting's audio. Don't worry, you can't hear me yet. Hi, Carlos.
Hello.
I can hear you. Carlos, were we on the phone earlier?
Yes, my name is actually Dan. Hi.
Hi, what's up, Dan? How come your Zoom thing says Carlos?
My dad uses Zoom. I actually don't. I only talk to my friends on Google Hangout, not Zoom.
Well, I'm glad we could make this work. Welcome to the stream.
Hello. Hi.
How are you? Can I ask how old are you, Dan?
I'm 11.
11. Are you a young budding music producer?
Yes. I actually recently bought the Launch Key Mini Mark III.
Yes.
And I actually just started making music about a month and a half ago, I guess.
Amazing.
But I want to know, how do you get inspiration for music? Because I find beats and I make a drum beat and then maybe a lead synth, but then after there I don't know where to go from. I don't know what to do next.
For sure. What do you use? Are you using Ableton Live to make music?
Yes.
And are you asking? So you're looking for inspiration. Okay, I kind of get it. You don't know how many layers to add, like when to add more parts, things like that.
Yes. And I'm using Live Light.
Nice. Yeah, there's plenty of selection in Live Light. The advice I would give you is advice I gave to somebody else earlier today, and it was in a different context. But you listen to a lot of music, I assume.
Yes.
What do you use, like YouTube, Spotify? What do you use to listen to music?
YouTube and sometimes Spotify. Not much, mostly YouTube.
What you got to do, and this takes a little bit of time, but you got to just listen to, make a playlist with all that music that you love. Make a playlist with 5 songs that you love. Start with 5 songs, and really just sit with a notebook and write down the different elements of each song. Like if you hear a singer in one song, cool, right? Singer. You hear a bass in one song, bass. Even take one of your favorite songs and see if there's a tutorial on how to make it, or see if the producer has a tutorial on how to make it, so you can see how many different parts they have. Because usually producers break down different parts of tracks so that you can actually see, okay, there's a keyboard sound here, then there's a bass, then there's a lead. You can also think about it. I don't know if you listen to any bands, like rock bands, but I come from a rock music background, and it's very easy for me to think about beats in the same way that a band would approach music, right? You have your drums, you have your bass, you have a guitar, and then you have a singer, right? So the drums is obviously your beat. A lot of the times the bass line is, laying down the bass of the chords. The guitar is usually playing chords, so that's your chords, and the singer is the melody on top. So if you divide things into those 4 categories, drums, bass, chords, and a melody, which is the singer on top, that is a good place to start. But of course, a lot of the tracks that you listen to probably have more than 4 tracks, more than 4 instruments.
Yes.
So start finding creative ways to fill out those different parts. So maybe that means your drummer is not just one drum track with a kick and snare, but maybe it's also a shaker loop or a shaker pattern. Okay, so that's drums. Chords, maybe you have a keyboard sound that's somewhere in the high end. Maybe you have a synth pad sound that's somewhere in the middle, and then maybe you have a more traditional, keyboard sound, and that makes up your chords. And then your lead, your melodies. Maybe you have one lead playing a melody, but some songs are duets and they have more than one singer. So maybe you have a couple different synths playing melodies or taking turns playing melodies. And then with the bass line, usually you just want one bass line. But think of it in those 4 pieces and figure out what you can add to each of those pieces. So within those 4 pieces, each one of them is like an umbrella, and the drums can hold, shakers, kicks, snares, hi-hats, claps, all that. The lead can hold a lead synth. The lead can hold a vocal sample. And then the keys can hold a number of different types of sounds. But think of it in those 4 big branches and how to fill out those branches. And don't be afraid to stop. Constantly think about your listener. This is how I really approach it, is think about your listener, and is your listener going to get bored? So is there something happening along the way, every 4 bars or so? Something new happening, and new can mean something new comes in or something goes away so that the section sounds new. Is there something to keep your listener interested, or is it repetitive? If it's repetitive, it's time to either add something new or take something away and switch something out.
Yeah, I sometimes I ask my brother or my sister just to come and listen to what I've been working on, and if they like it or not. And if not, maybe I change up the lead. If not, I try maybe a different drum loop.
For sure. Yeah, and just try to keep that rate of change and keep it interesting for your listener. Don't feel like you have to pile on too much, but make sure you're hitting on enough in those 4 categories of drums, bass, chords, and melody. Make sure you're hitting on all 4 of those. And you should be golden, and those should all fit into your... build up from there, and you'll have a nice solid song. Are you posting your music anywhere, Dan?
Not yet, because I really technically don't have any music yet. I haven't made one full song.
Yeah, that's okay. You have so much time.
Yeah, I've only been doing music with Ableton for a month or 2.
Yeah. And you'll get there. Keep working. For a month's time, just keep pushing through. I'm sure you're doing great. It's going to be a while before you make something that's, as good as the music that you love, but that's okay. It's part of the process. You're not doing anything wrong. It's a constant state of getting better. I'm still in that state of getting better as I go and comparing myself to artists that I like and not feeling like I'm living up to it. And I'm 28. So you're 11. You're starting now. You're starting way before I started with music production and electronic music. That means by the time you're my age, you're going to be miles ahead of me as long as you just stick with it and don't get disgruntled. Don't get, down on yourself. Just keep pushing forward and keep pushing yourself to improve.
Yeah, I actually don't want to study music when I go to college, but I want to study chemistry. But
Nice.
I still want to have music as a hobby or something
Of
I
course.
do.
There are very many even famous musicians that studied something completely different in college and went on to lead very successful musical lives. But even if you don't, if you're saying that now and you understand yourself at a young age, and this might change as you get older, your priorities will change, your interests will change, whatever evolves. If you're just always very honest with yourself about that, hey, I just want this to be fun. I want this to be a hobby. I like music. I enjoy music. I don't want it to be my career. If you have that thought, then that's totally okay. And you can enjoy music just like the rest of us, enjoy making music just like the rest of us. And it's a pressure-free environment that way. It's really healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And also, I just really quickly wanted to ask, I started making music with Ableton, and I've been looking at the live performances you've done with the launch key, because that's the only controller I have for now, and I've learned a lot, but I want to know more. So I don't know if you have any time, like around next week or this upcoming week, maybe to teach me live, maybe.
Let's set up a lesson. I think that's a good idea. But get your dad's permission first.
Yes, I can get my dad
Not
now.
not right now, not on air.
Okay.
But
okay.
what I want you to do
Sorry.
is get your dad's permission and have him send me an email at taetro.music@gmail.com.
Give me a second. I have my notebook right here, actually. Music notebook. Say it again.
TAETRO, so my name, TAETRO. Dot, so a little dot. Music.
Yeah. Say it again.
Music, MUSIC. This is a real test.
Music. Sorry, I write slow.
That's okay. At gmail.com.
Gmail.com. And I have a Gmail, so.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Have your dad, you and your dad can shoot me an email and say, hey, this is Dan, and this is Carlos, Dan's dad.
My real name's Daniel, but everyone calls me Dan, so either way.
You shoot me an email and we will set up a lesson for next week.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Tomorrow I can't though, but
It's
any other
okay.
day I'm free.
We'll set something up. You make sure you send the email. Can you show me what you wrote down so I know that it's written correctly? And then if you find me on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, in case the email doesn't go through. Lower. Yes, there you go. TAETRO.music@gmail.com. Yeah, at symbol, not the word at.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I don't know that symbol for some reason.
Dude, I'm stoked. I got to take the last call, though. So we will make this happen. You send that email, okay?
Yes. Okay.
All right. Peace out, dude.
Bye.
Y'all, we did F in the chat for Dan, but Dan came through and crushed it, folks. Technical difficulties. This dude's I have adults calling into this show that call in, have technical issues, and don't call back. But you know what Dan just did? Called back, stayed in the waiting room, and is getting himself a free lesson. So there's that. If you're interested in lessons, we can all, of course, do one-on-one lessons. But you got to go to patreon.com/TAETRO and sign up for the diamond tier, and you got to pay. Not everybody is this 11-year-old kid who just sat in a stream. Like, if you're over the age of 11, you should be looking at this kid like, wow, this kid just sat and figured out his Zoom situation, made it work, got on stream, shot his shot, and made it happen. So he's going to get a free lesson with me because I think that's dope. So patreon.com/TAETRO if you want to purchase a one-on-one lesson. But that dude's getting one for free because, he's 11, he's got a launch key, he's super articulate, he's stuck with it, he's working on his own, and you can tell that he's willing to work hard. One more call for today. Jose Luis, let's get in it. Connecting to audio. And that's our last call of the evening. We're going for about 90 minutes today. I'm stoked that we are all able to hang on a call-in show. I'll be doing another call-in show on Monday. Yeah, people stand Dan in the chat. That's what I know. Hello, Jose Luis. Welcome back to the show. We've talked before, right?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the show. You're my last call of the evening. How are you?
Good. All right. So I've been here like the whole time.
You've been waiting so patiently. I appreciate you.
All right. Yeah. I just wanted to say I love your content. Keep
Thank
it
you.
up. I always look forward to seeing what you post every single time you do. I really want to do something like what you're doing right now. And yeah, just keep it up.
Thank you. You totally can do what I'm doing. It's very easy. All you need is a camera. Like I said before, I started with a Galaxy Note 4. I think they're on the Galaxy Note 20 by now. So I had a really crappy quality, edited on an iPad mini on iMovie, and that's how this channel started. And this is where we're at now. So start small, grow yourself, push yourself to grow, and you will be able to do what I do and probably be better than me at it.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. All right. I have one question. All right.
It's got to be a good one. It's the last question of the day. No pressure.
All right. So for my personal experience, um, so I'm like I don't have that much like money, so I want to like grow within my music skills, and so I always like try to practice as much as I can, and so like I can get even better and better and better.
Great.
And I want to like make a living out of it, but I'm like starting at zero. So where should I begin in order to like gain it and just make a career out of it?
So where are you at right now? Like, what are you? Where are you in your musical journey and your content creation journey right now?
All right. So right now I'm like 15, almost gonna be 15, and started my music career when I was 9. I started playing the flute, and that's been going until today. So 6 years now, and so I'm like a classical guy person. I like all like the instruments, violins and stuff. But I also like rock music, not as hard rock music, but just a lot of broad music all around.
And are you into music production yet?
Not currently. I'm still trying to save up for the Akai MK.
The MPK?
All
right.
MPK.
And are you using a program yet? Like, are you using a music production program at all?
Well, right now, the only thing I have is my iPad and the GarageBand, which
Amazing.
I've been using it a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so start making music on there because you don't necessarily need a controller. I could also highly recommend the Groovebox app. The Groovebox app is I believe, a free app that kind of works a little bit like Ableton, and it's really easy to start making your own music. Just make, like, to grow, like, you just got to start making stuff. And I feel like you are really this early in your journey. Just start documenting the best you can. Like, you don't have to start a YouTube channel today, but like, if you become a really dope producer in a year, in 5 years, whatever, however long it takes you, like if you become a really dope musician and you started documenting from before you even got your first MIDI keyboard, imagine like how amazing it will be to just have that footage and how people will be able to look back on it and see your journey. Imagine all the people you can inspire if you just started documenting today. And imagine the relationships you can build up from having the channel that is like the starting from zero producer channel or whatever, like noob producer, like youtube.com/noob producer or whatever. Just documenting your process and like being super honest and authentic and just talking about how you're just learning and like, here's what I made on my iPad today. Oh, my Akai MPK Mini, I'm still saving up. I'm like 3/4 of the way through, like saving up for my Akai MPK Mini, and just documenting that process and starting to build up that persona of like, you are learning music production. You're learning to be a music producer. You're a musician in general. You know, you play the flute and stuff. And just start creating content around that, because, you know, your artist persona might evolve as you get older, and then as you get more knowledge in learning music and music production, your persona will evolve. But what you'll learn along the way in making content and making music is you'll make all the mistakes. You will get better and better at making content the more you make, which just goes back to how I started talking about how I used like a really crappy phone and an iPad to edit. And you will make all the mistakes now that you're a beginner. Meanwhile, you're building skills while you're making those mistakes, so that when you get that MPK, and then a year after you have that MPK and you're learning a better DAW than GarageBand, you have already learned to make dope content, and B, maybe you gain some followers along the way because they're really interested in following your journey. That would be my advice around making the content and stuff like that. But in terms of money, like if you're strapped for cash, like there's so many free resources out there. I post videos all the time. I think I have a video coming out tomorrow that's sponsored by Skillshare, and like people have free Skillshare licenses that they're giving away all the time. Doesn't have to be for me and my channel, but take advantage of people's, 2 months free of Skillshare, or go on YouTube and watch some Andrew Wong tutorials or 343 Labs tutorials or TAETRO tutorials, and just take advantage of that free education. There's so much free out there. Don't let money hold back your journey, because you have an iPad and you're about to have an MPK Mini once you save up the money. So those two tools that you have are better than some of your favorite producers had when they first started. They're stronger tools than people that I look up to started, in the early 2000s. In the 90s, we didn't have like now my phone can do more than what Kanye produced his first beat tape on, So like, what's my excuse? I'm not Kanye yet. So it comes down to the hard work, and take advantage of the tools you have and the resources that are available for free.
Yeah.
But it's about time. It's going to come down to time, like how you spend your time. Like, I love to play Call of Duty Warzone, but I use that as a break. I use that as my escapism. If I was in the position where I was trying to build my audience and try to build up, which I am in the position of building something. But if I was a beginner, and I wanted to build something up, I'd be playing a heck of a lot less, Warzone, and be spending a lot more time just like grinding, learning theory, learning chords, learning production, learning all that. So it's up to you and how you spend your time.
Yeah, like I forgot which famous musician said this, but a famous musician that I follow said that you have to at least practice a skill for 10,000 hours
to become an expert.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the golden rule. 10,000 hours and you'll become an expert.
Yeah. Because you just need the skill to just, since like you said in the beginning, you're just going to be like, your music is not as good as like a month later.
Exactly.
Like every single time when you pick up something, then you're going to keep on going, and you'll just get better.
Yeah, you'll keep growing, and be realistic with yourself. 10,000 hours, it's going to take you a long time to get to that 10,000 hour mark. I don't even know if I'm at a 10,000 hour mark for anything yet. I think for a few things I might be, but 10,000 hours doesn't happen overnight, doesn't happen in a year, doesn't happen in 5 years maybe. Like, it's your journey, it's your pace. You can totally set the pace and be comfortable with your growth and not burn yourself out, because a lot of people hear that 10,000 hours, try to go really hard, and then burn out because it's not fun anymore, when really this is music. It's fun. It's art. It's making stuff. It's cathartic. It's an outlet. So don't burn yourself out. But that 10,000 hour mark, like, you won't even see hour 10,000. Like, forget about hour 10,000. Think about hour 1, hour 5, hour 24. Like, once you've, like, I think about that. Like, I can go back to Call of Duty Warzone again. Like, you can look up your stats on video games and see how many hours that you've played games. And I have some games that I put some significant time into, like over 24 hours, funny enough. And I'm like, wow, an entire day, an entire 24 hours spent playing this game. I wish I had a way to track, how much time I've spent making videos or how much time I've spent making beats, because it would be a huge amount of time, and it'd be great to just see that number. But forget about hour 10,000. Think about hour 1, hour 2, hour 5, etc. Keep it accessible for yourself, and make sure it's always fun and not burning out. It's going to be work. There's going to be part of it that's going to be work, and not like, fun at the park. But the journey of learning, despite the fact that it's being work, should not make you hate music. So as long as you avoid that at all costs, you will enjoy what you're doing, and you'll be a better music producer and musician for it.
Yeah. All right. One little question.
Take it away.
Would you ever consider doing any giveaways?
I do giveaways on the channel all the time. I believe on Monday I have a giveaway coming up for a microphone, but stay tuned, because I have some gear that I'm making videos for that I will have a giveaway for. So stay tuned. Make sure you follow the channel. Turn on notifications, because there are. I haven't done giveaways in a while, but I'm doing giveaways in a much bigger way in the next couple months. So stay tuned.
Yep, I'll be notified.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for calling in.
Right. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Have a good one.
You too.
Folks, that's going to be it for tonight. We went for what, like 90 minutes almost? Jeez. My throat like literally hurts after these. I'm going to answer these text questions really quick. TAETRO, I learned a lot today, even though I didn't get to call. Next week I will. Great. I'm actually going to be live again on Monday for Mentor Mondays. So that is a perfect time to call in. Monday, just make sure you're subscribed and notified about the channel because I have to pick the time still. But Monday. Juanes Martinez asks, when did I start music production? I was probably a teenager. I'm 28 now. I was probably like 15. I was probably like 14 when I started experimenting with music production. So that's 14 years, guys. Think about, like, imagine yourself now. Try to picture 14 years from now. It's nearly impossible. I never would have pictured where I am doing what I'm doing right now. Like, the idea of TAETRO didn't exist 14 years ago. My passion for controllerism didn't exist 14 years ago. I lived in my parents' house 14 years ago. It's crazy. So imagine that the future self, the future you 14 years from now could be a totally different person, could be totally more advanced at a different skill that you haven't discovered yet. So always push yourself to discover new things. I imagine TAETRO doing a TAETRO gaming channel. That would be amazing. That would be fun. Spin-off channel. Maybe we should do, if I do the YouTube memberships thing, which you guys can let me know what you think about that. We'll do like members only gaming streams. That would be fun. Games with TAETRO and you guys can join. This was a great stream, folks. If you took value today, if you really liked this stream, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. 2 things you can do to help me. You can go to my channel, youtube.com/TAETRO, which you're probably watching on now, and you can click subscribe on my channel and ring the notification bell so you get notified when I post videos. I believe I have a video coming out tomorrow. I'll be doing a mic giveaway next week, so stay tuned for that. The other thing that you can do that I would really appreciate is if you just went to 343labs.com and just looked at the courses, check out the catalog. They're all virtual. You can learn from anywhere in the world, learn with really amazing teachers, see if there's a course that's for you, and just consider it. If you're young, maybe bring it up to your parents and say, hey, I would like to take a course in music production. Look at this school. They teach courses. See what your parents say about that. Who knows? If you're an adult, think about taking this time in quarantine to, level up your music production skills at 343labs.com. Payment plans, there's usually discount codes. Check it out. 343labs.com if you enjoyed this stream. I would really appreciate that. Visiting the 343 Labs website and checking out and hitting subscribe on the channel. Tomorrow on 343 TV will be Hardware Basics with Abe Duque at 1 p.m. EST. Tune in for that on 343 Labs YouTube. Go over to YouTube and do that. I know a lot of you are watching on my channel. I appreciate you all. Thank you, Ernie. Thank you, Tyra. Thank you, Carlos, Juanes, Popsicle. Thank you. Mystery Kid, Jose Luis, Sky, Gabu, everybody who called in, Sky Silver, thank you. Tommy, appreciate you all. Everybody who called in, Mr. Disco, Mr. Jules, my mom, my dad, everybody. Thanks, Thomas, for calling in and helping out with the stream and making a thumbnail in a quick turnaround time. Brian, thank you. Basha, thank you for being here. Josiah, thank you. Gabriel, I'm sorry if I missed your name. FUTCCHDB, thank you. K-Dog Beats, thank you for being here. I'm sorry if I missed your name. There's too many names. I gotta start not getting over my head. Please, 2 things you can do to help me. Subscribe to this channel. 79% of my watch time comes from unsubscribed viewers, so I would really appreciate the sub. Trying to get to 100K, trying to get to 90K this month. That would be really amazing. And 343labs.com, just look at the website. Just type it into the search bar, 343labs.com, and just look at the website. Tell me what you think. At me on Twitter, at Nick TAETRO, if you have lingering questions. And thank you all so much for watching. This has been TAETRO. Have a good one.